What's up, humans? My name is David, and I help people develop self-awareness and self-compassion. And welcome to another Blue Chair Talk. I do these once a week. They are unscripted weekly chats, usually revolving around meditation and personality, and then I follow them up with a short 10-minute guided meditation. Today, we are going to discuss the two basic approaches to meditation. Or maybe I'll say the two categories for meditation. Or perhaps the two goals in meditation. I don't know. This whole meditation thing is kind of complicated. It's getting very, very popular, at least in the US. It seems to be gaining popularity. And there are so many different types, so many different historical traditions that involve meditation, and they all have different names, and they all have slightly different practices. And so as I have gradually learned more and more and more, and there are still so many that I know so little about, so far it seems to me that the most helpful way to think about different types of meditation, different traditions, all this kind of thing, in my mind, they do actually fit into mostly two categories. Now, as with any simple dichotomy, or at least almost any simple dichotomy, of course it's not that simple. Almost every single practice involves a little bit of both, but for our purposes today, let us oversimplify for the purpose of learning a bit more, right? Start with something simple and eventually we realize it's more complicated than that. So the two categories are like this. Basically, goal-oriented approaches in meditation, or ungoal-oriented. Or non-goal, I don't know. It's hard to articulate this because if it's non-goal, isn't that still a goal? And your goal is to not have a goal? I don't know. Anyway, we'll just say goal-oriented and ungoal-oriented, and hopefully my explanation will make a little more sense of that. The goal-oriented approach, I associate more with developing self-awareness, and the non-goal or the ungoal sort of approaches or postures in meditation, I associate more with developing self-compassion. Like I said, of course there's overlap, and really, even if you tried to stick with exclusively one approach, if you can sort of imagine a graph, maybe one goes this way and the other one goes that way, eventually you have to, or you will be, practicing both. You absolutely will have to be doing some goal-oriented stuff and some non-goal-oriented stuff, and they both do meet up in the end. So, the goal-oriented practices, I think, are more associated with developing self-awareness because every step of the way, your goals are going to require you to develop better self-awareness in order to sort of overcome these individual hurdles or attain these certain landmarks within your broader journey of meditation. There are many places that you could go to learn about, let's say, a skill development approach to meditation. So far, the best one that I've found is this guy right here, The Mind Illuminated, has essentially a 10-step sequential, mostly sequential, approach to developing the various attention and awareness skills, right, that you need, and that you can gradually just sort of track your progress through these different steps. In practical terms, what you're going to be developing with that approach to meditation is stability of attention. And if you've missed the last few videos, we've talked quite a bit about the difference between attention and awareness. So you're going to be developing stability of attention, and you're going to be developing mindfulness. Same caveat or same explanation. We covered mindfulness in the past two weeks, those videos there. So check those out. if you're curious about developing those two things. On the other hand, the ungoal approaches to meditation, well, of course, you don't really have a goal, so it's a bit weird to say that this is what you're trying to develop, right? When the whole point of that type of meditation is to stop trying. I like to think of this as fully or full or holistic, like psychological Sabbath. The principle behind Sabbath is some percentage of time set aside for rest, for non-doing. But maybe you've had this experience, or you've heard a story of someone else who has gone on vacation and has not been able to rest, right? Or maybe you've had this experience, you come home from a long day at work and you, for whatever reason, could be many reasons, you decide to turn on Netflix or open up some social media scrolly thing, and hours go by, and this is purportedly entertaining, but you are not more rested. That's bizarre. Anyway, it's not that bizarre, and hopefully in your journey you are learning more about yourself and what really does bring rest. But the point of those two illustrations of failing to rest is that we have a whole psychological phenomenon or cycle that's going on that is difficult to break out of. It's difficult for your mind to really Sabbath, like stopping enough, or let's say at least slowing down enough that you don't feel like you're doing something, or you're comparing yourself, or you have some kind of goal, or we've talked about conditional happiness, and that's really one of the outcomes of this ungoal, this not trying approach to meditation. Less and less conditional happiness going on for you mentally. And then the other one, and this is kind of why I say that this ungoal posture in meditation, or these types of meditation that are ungoal, I say these are more associated with self-compassion. The other thing that results from these types of practices is that we start to let go more and more, or we are more able to quickly notice and let go of our self-stories. These stories that we are telling about ourselves in our minds. If that sounds bizarre, if that's the first time you've heard of such a thing, one thing you could do is just trust me that those stories are there. But what I would encourage you to do is, throughout the course of this week, see if you can check in, see if you can point your attention inward, and see if you can notice any stories that you might be telling yourself about yourself. I'm sure to at least some of you that sounds really super bizarre, but I assure you, if you start taking stock of your mental activity, so much of our mental energy is exerted in entertaining or exploring, right, these self-concepts, and whether or not we're measuring up to them. And man, it's tiring. It's a lot of energy. So that's what I want to encourage you to think about, or try to notice, try to track throughout the course of this week, is some self-stories. But now, for today, we're going to shift our attention, as it were, to our short guided meditation practice. So if you are currently in a place where you can do it, thumbs up, take a seat, or even lie down. It's only 10 minutes. Probably won't fall asleep, but even if you do, that's probably what you needed. And if you're not somewhere pause this video and then start it up again when you're somewhere where you can meditate. But here we go. Today, we're gonna do definitely more in the ungoal kind of direction for our meditation today. So, settle in. Roll some shoulders back. Sit up straight or find some way that will be comfortable to posture yourself physically for about 10 minutes here. Close your eyes and open your mind. Widen your attention as much as you can. Or perhaps, if this makes sense, try to let go of attention and just key into the broader awareness. With your eyes closed like this, where are the limits of your awareness? This may sound like a weird idea or a woo-woo kind of, new age talk, but I mean this in the most concrete way possible. Peer into this sort of dark, grayish, shimmery space behind your eyes. And recognize that there is no boundary, actually. Anytime you notice that you're imagining some kind of story, some kind of narrative, just realize that you have noticed it and that allows you to let go of it. We don't always want to let go of it, but we can. We can just come back to the broadest awareness available. Any words or phrases that you realize popping up in your mind, it's okay. It's very, very normal. Just notice them and let them be. One of my preferred mental images is sort of a stepping back from the many, many things our mind can serve up. Step back from that more narrow imagination into simple, broad awareness of what is in the here and now. notice that these distractions, these narratives in your mind, they are a form of doing. Sometimes they're pleasant, sometimes they're unpleasant, but these are mental activities. So whenever you recognize that you become lost in thought, that you are distracted, just step back. No reason to be hard on ourselves. These distractions are to be expected. We can even lovingly recognize distraction and let it go. Step back into what is. Alrighty, my friends, as we wrap up, I want to remind you of the invitation this week to try and gain a little bit more self-awareness of your self-stories. For myself, I was raised in a religious background that imparted a lot of expectations for the type of person I was supposed to be and the type of person I was not supposed to be. So that is a lot of self-stories that I'm often comparing myself to mentally. But something else that this spiritual background imparted to me was this idea of unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. And those don't sound like the same thing, you know? But in this practice of meditation, of full psychological, or maybe you might even say soul Sabbath, we can taste regularly this unconditional okayness, this unconditional acceptance and embrace. God, it is good. So, I hope you'll join me this week on this journey, and I hope I'll see you again next week for some more blue chair talks, some more insights, and another short guided meditation. Until next week, know your mind, love your life.